So I'm a used car dealer, and I have been one for 14 years now. And over those 14 years, I've bought and sold thousands and thousands and thousands of cars. But here's the thing, my niche is $5,000 and under. So you have to think about the kinds of cars that I have to buy to be able to sell cars that are $5,000 and under. Most of these cars are between 10 and up to 25 years old. They have 150, 175, even some have 200,000 miles on them. So I'm in the unique position to know which cars actually last a very long time, and more importantly, the ones that don't. And if you see a lot of my videos that I put here on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't, by the way, then you'll see a common theme. I have lots of Hondas, lots of Toyotas. Here's another Honda right here. The same kind of brands keep popping up at my car dealership. Those are the kind of cars that I want to buy, the ones that I know are reliable. And throughout this video, I'm actually going to talk about the other side of that, the cars that I know that won't last, the cars that I don't think you should even buy.
Dodge Charger 2014 RT with 170,000 miles, worth it for $5,000.
No, I don't want a Charger. Man, those cars are junk. I know they look good. A lot of people like them. Those cars are absolute garbage. And I can't remember if this is the one that has the plastic, the thermostat housing. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. There's thermostat housing where hot coolant goes in there. They put a plastic piece on the top where the coolant actually gets rotated through the thermostat. Those things would bust. It causes your car to overheat. They're absolute trash. Do not buy a Dodge Charger. Garbage. Absolute garbage.
Chances are solid that car has been ragged out.
Oh, yeah. Young kid, have that car. And that's probably what you want to do with it. You want to get something that looks cool and is fast. And I mean, they're not fast. They're not fast. I mean, you can get some of them that are.
I mean, to go to work.
Yeah,
you're not racing it. I mean, not for long.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably been repoed at some point. It's funny whenever me and my wife drive by and we see a loud Dodge Charger or Challenger next to us, is bright green or bright orange. We're like, well, there goes a repo. Yes. So, when I go to a lot of these car auctions and we see like repo lanes and stuff, there's always Dodge Chargers, Dodge Challengers sitting there. They just kids buy them and they're done with money and they can't afford to have them. So they're going to rag them out. They're not going to take care of them. And then they're going to lose them. And now you're trying to buy one for $5,000 and it's probably already been ragged out. It's trash and the motors are garbage and everything in them's plastic. Go sit in one and just look at the dash. Like it looks like a cheap car. I don't understand the appeal. I mean, I guess they look kind of cool on the outside. It's not my thing, but I can understand how some people can think they look cool on the outside. But when you sit in it, it's like it's one of the cheapest made interiors that you can own in a vehicle, and they break and they're not good cars. Don't buy one.
Why don't you buy Cadillacs?
We used to. I used to actually buy a lot of like DeVille's and what were they? The STS, which I think were very similar to the DeVille's. But they had those North Star engines in them. And the thing with the North Star engine is you either get a really, really good one or a really, really bad one. And there's usually no in-betweens on those motors. So what I used to love to buy was buying those North Star motors when I saw them when they had like 170,000 miles, because I knew that meant that either one, the motor's already been rebuilt, or two, that was one of the good North Star motors. What I was always scared to death of is if there was a Cadillac that rolled through the auction that had like 50 or 60,000 miles, because that's when that motor was going to blow up. And I wouldn't touch anything like that. And my grandfather would buy a lot of these Cadillacs, and he would buy the lower mileage. He would always buy more expensive stuff than I would. He was a car dealer way back in the day. And he had to replace so many motors out of those Cadillacs because he was not buying the ones with higher mileage. He was buying the ones before they would actually blow up, or right when they were going to blow up. So I loved buying those Cadillacs. Now you just don't see them anymore. obviously they have newer Cadillacs, but the stuff that I buy, $5,000 and under. You got to think about the range of vehicles that I have to buy for my car lot. And you're getting up to maybe like a 2006, 2007 Cadillac that I would be able to afford to buy for my consumer who's going to buy a car that's $5,000 and under. And with those, I still have to look. I mean, there's North Star Motors is what I have to look for. 2002, 2006-ish. And if we see them with 170, 180,000 miles, we'll check them out and we'll buy them every once in a while, but you don't see very many of them anymore. But over the years, I've bought tons and tons and tons of Cadillacs, but recently you just don't see them anymore.
All right. On this kick of which cars are good cars or not, I'm just going to stick with that for just a little bit. Are Ford Escapes good cars?
I really like Ford Escapes. I think they're good cars, but you have to look at what you're comparing them to. If you're comparing to like a Toyota RAV4, a Toyota RAV4 is going to outlast it by double. But a Ford Escape, if we have it in a vacuum, just looking at the car, they have 4-cylinder, they have 6-cylinder. I think they're actually both good cars. One of the most common problems that you'll see with the Ford Escape, especially in the model years that I'm looking at, is like a 2000. I don't even remember when they first came out with it. It might be in like 2000. But up until like 2008 or whatever are typical ones that we buy. We actually have one on our lot right now. It's bright yellow and it's hideous. I think it's like a 2005, 2006 model. The most common problems you're going to run into with a Ford Escape is head gasket and transmission problems. Now, luckily for us, if those two things are something that we can catch at auction. So for us, the ones that we've bought, we've actually had really good luck with them. We've done really well with them. And for me, just looking at all the Ford Escapes that we bought over the years, I would say, yes, they're good cars. But there's the caveat here. Because they have those common problems with them, if you're just having a wide sweeping brush where you're saying, is a Ford Escape good? Is it bad? Most people would probably say that the Ford Escape is bad because of these problems, but these are problems that are easily detectable. So Ford is really good about throwing transmission codes before it's actually going to give you issues. And that's one of the reasons why we've been able to avoid all the bad Ford Escapes, is because if they have a solenoid that's not it's like a hard shift or something's off in the transmission, Ford is really good about throwing us a code that we can use our scanner. Right there. That's the OBD2 scanner, something like that. We can plug up to the Ford's computer and it'll read the transmission and it'll spit out if the transmission's got any kind of funkiness about it or whatever, and we just don't buy it. So we haven't had any issues with Ford Escape transmissions. And the motors, as far as head gaskets go, you can hear for knocks, you can feel for misses, and you can check the oil before they're running through the auction to see if there's any kind of water in the oil, if it looks milky or anything like that. So for me that knows how to check out a Ford Escape before I'm going to buy it, I would say yes, a Ford Escape is good. It can be a great car, can last you a long time. But for the average person who's not going to check out a car, just buy one, I'd rather you buy a Honda or Toyota. So that's kind of it's hard for me to say, is a Ford Escape a good car? For me, yes. For most people, no.
2 Kias or 1 Toyota? This is how I feel all the time when I'm talking to you. You ask me a question. Well, it depends. That's how I start it. Go ahead. How are you going to answer? I want to see how you handle it. I love this question.
Does 2 Kias equate to 1 Toyota? I'm going with the 1 Toyota. Next question.
Yeah, but do you need 2 cars? You're just trying to avoid the context issue, and you did well. Good job. I
feel like 2 Kias is going to become 1 Kia very, very quickly anyway, though.
There it is.
That's the answer. That's why it's 1 Toyota, because if you have 2 Kias, eventually they will become one Kia, and then eventually it'll become none Kia. Mm-hmm. So go with the Toyota. Yeah.
Got it. Do you get Honda Accords often? I noticed you never really talk about them.
Yeah, I feel like I talk about Honda Accords all the time. Yeah, we get Honda Accords quite a bit. One thing, so Honda Accords, I always say that they're really good cars. I like them a lot. One problem I have with Honda Accords, specifically the 6-cylinder ones, the ones that we bought like 2002, 2006 ish. I think that's the same body. Actually, that body style went up to like 2008, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But the 6-cylinder, the transmissions can be a little iffy, but as long as you can drive it, make sure nothing's slipping. They're really bad about like third gear slipping. And I think even you had a Honda Accord for a long time, and it had like 230,000 miles. You drove that thing for years, didn't you?
It did. It also had to have a couple extra axles.
Yeah, the axles dropped out of the front of it.
Other than that, though.
Yeah, that was crazy because that happened with like in 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had to get her Honda Accord towed twice. That's not a common problem though. It was weird. We actually bought that car from another dealer from West Virginia, so that had a little bit of rust. And that's probably why those axles didn't survive the way that they should have. But other than that, I think they're really good cars. You just have to watch out for the transmissions. The other thing is I don't know if it's the locking mechanisms on the doors or the actual ignition switch that needs to be switched a lot. But we buy a lot of Honda Accords and a lot of Honda Civics that we get keys that are just ignition keys and they won't work on the doors, so you have to get door keys made. So that would tell me that the ignition switches have to get changed quite a bit. So that's another common problem, and that's one of the most frustrating problems for us because we don't even, when we're checking out cars, like we don't think about trying the key in the actual door. And at a lot of auctions, they're actually tethered to the steering wheel, so we couldn't even try the key in the door. But that's an expensive fix for us, especially when they have to make it just off the lock. I think it's like $350 for us to get a key cut like that. Now, if you get a key that you already have and get it replicated, then that's cheap. But when they have to actually cut it off of the lock, that's when it gets really expensive, and that happens more often than I would like to talk about in Honda Civics and Honda Accords, and those are the top two. We never see that with Toyota Camrys or Toyota Corollas, but it happens all the time. So those ignition switches probably go bad quite a bit, would be my guess.